What is up, my friends? You are very welcome along to Friday night's late night agenda. Euros are back in action tomorrow, but today it's another empty day in the footballing calendar unless you're talking about tonight's Copa America action, which of course we will discuss a little bit later on. I hope you're all ready for a nice weekend by the looks of the weather, and appreciate you guys coming in. Is that a new chair? Yes, it is. The other chair was just killing my back, man. It just wasn't doing it for me, so I splashed out on a nice new one, which has loads of cool features, including a footrest and stuff. So yes, good spot. I knew it wouldn't take very long before one of you eagle-eyed viewers were able to cop onto the new chair. Well in. So yeah, look, there's a load for us to get through today, and I see people, of course, getting a little bit concerned about the Anthony Gordon stuff. I just pass along the stories. I'm not saying that they're factual. I'm not saying that it's 100% going to happen. But there has been a little bit of chatter about Liverpool doing some big business in this market and potentially breaking the club record transfer fee. Now, I don't know if that's going to be for Anthony Gordon or somebody else, but it certainly makes me feel a little bit more optimistic about the window than I was maybe a day or two ago. So look, we'll go through it all tonight. We'll try and figure out how realistic the Anthony Gordon stuff is. Of course, we know Newcastle, as per many reports, are potentially in a little bit of trouble with the PSR stuff, so they may have to offload some players quickly to free up some wiggle room, but we're running out of time there as well, because of course the end of the football financial calendar is the end of June, so there's only a couple of days left to go. I'm going to run through all the stories tonight, but as always, we want to know your thoughts on them, so let us know in the comments section, and appreciate you guys being in. The new chair will look even better in the new studio, by the way. That's under development for the new season, so yeah, I'm looking forward to unveiling it all to you guys over the next couple of weeks. Right, where do you want me to kick off with tonight? Because we can talk about Ait-Nouri, we can talk about the goalkeeper that Liverpool are interested in, Bento, who also surprisingly is of interest to Juventus. We can talk about Mohamed, Salah, Rodrigo, Darwin breaking records, or equaling records I should say, for Uruguay. I'm good, for those asking. I'm good, thank you. Lovely to see you in. Ait-Nouri, said Troy. Okay, cool. Let's talk about Ait-Nouri. So we know that there is apparently interest from Liverpool in Rayan Ait-Nouri, Algerian international, Wolves player, and the reports mainly coming out of Algeria over Liverpool's interest. But one thing we didn't get to really talk about yesterday was a potential price for the player. Today we do have a number, and it seems like about £38 million is the valuation that Wolves have put on their attacker, according to these reports. Now, I gotta, or not their attacker, their defender, sorry. I've got to say, 38 million quid is reasonable for me, for Ait-Nouri. I think he would be a good piece of business around that number. If you got some money back for Costas as well, if he was moved on in this window, that would obviously soften the financial burden. But yeah, I like it. I like the idea of Ait-Nouri. He's somebody that we were linked to even when Kloppo was at the club. I've got some comments from him previously saying that, you know, he would have loved to have played under Jurgen Klopp, but he still likes the style of football Liverpool play. So according to these reports, he's very much open to the move. And I think most of us in the chat will be fairly happy with Rayan Ait-Nouri. So if you have any objections to the number, let me know what you think. Is he a right back? No, left back. And we're looking at about £38 million, according to the reports. But look, reports are one thing, what Wolves actually asked for will be another, but if it's in and around the £38 million, I think that's some decent value, personally. Liverpool fan watching from South Sudan, Mayok, welcome in, or Majok, sorry if I've mispronounced, but welcome in, my friend, lovely to have you with us. So Costas out, it does look like he's the most likely, yes. There's been some stories over the past month or two to suggest that if the right offer came in, Liverpool wouldn't stand in Costas' way. I don't think there's any real want to get him out for, you know, behavioural issues or anything like that. I think it would just be strategic from the club. You know, Costas has been with us now for a few years, and honestly, can any of us see him becoming the start and go-to left back in the future? I can't. We do have to look towards the tail end of Robbo's career and ask what next in that left back position. Maybe it's going to be Owen Beck, maybe it's going to be Luke Chambers, but if we can bring in Ait-Nouri, I think that would certainly settle my nerves anyway. And it would give us a really, really good set of fullbacks on that left-hand side. What of Nico? Again, I can only go through one story at the time, my man. Bear with me. I will get to Nico Williams in a little bit. But on Ait-Nouri, I think 38 million quid is fair. So let me see if we can get a poll on that. Actually, 38 million quid, yay or nay? Let me start. Let me just write this out. Okay, I think that's right. Have I spelled his name right? Yes, cool. So, question is, should Liverpool pay £38 million for Ait-Nouri? And I'm going to let you guys vote away on that one while I move on to the next bit of news. So, there's a few things starting to pop up about Anthony Gordon on Twitter and on other places. And normally I don't really pay attention to the ITKs on Twitter. But if you put it all together, the echo of being kind of hinting at Liverpool interest in Anthony Gordon for quite a while. A couple of people now on social media are starting to say that they believe that Gordon is of interest to Liverpool. We had Graham Bailey at HITC Sports saying HITC understands Liverpool have inquired with Newcastle about Anthony Gordon's situation. Then you've got Sky coming out and saying that Newcastle are in a difficult position, not wanting to sell star players, but the PSR deadline looming on July 1st means they may have to make some uncomfortable calls. And there's a couple of other people as well suggesting Anthony Gordon's name. Now, I've always said the same thing. I think he's a decent player, but if it's £100 million, I think there's 100 million reasons not to sign him because I don't think he's worth that much money. Newcastle paid, I think, 45 million for him. I wouldn't be comfortable with Liverpool paying 100 million, but it kind of leads into the bigger conversation that we wanted to have tonight, which is the murmurings, and I have to use that word because I'm not intelligent enough to come up with another one, but there is a belief growing that there's something big happening, that Liverpool are willing to break the club transfer record this summer. I don't have a name for you, and I don't even have a confirmation that it's factually going to happen, but there's more and more oxygen coming into this conversation, so I don't know. Who could it be? Like, if it's Anthony Gordon, I think it'll be underwhelming to say the least. But I want to know what you guys think on it. Thank you, Philip. First super chat of the day says, as a Newcastle fan, I feel it's likely we'll get a big name, let a big name go due to PSR. If Gordon goes, would rather it be to you guys. He'll become a superstar at Liverpool. And thank you for that, my man. For me, look, it must be difficult because, to Newcastle's credit, they do seem to be trying their best to not take the piss with regards to FFP, PSR and stuff like that. And one thing I've always said about Newcastle since their takeover is I've not seen any examples of them taking the piss like we've seen with PSG, Chelsea, Man City, where we all kind of wonder how they're getting away with this type of stuff. Newcastle do seem to try and cut their cloth accordingly. Let me ask you a question, Philip, though, as a Newcastle fan. Would you be more open to losing Gordon or Isak? Because there's been a lot of chatter as well that Arsenal could maybe come in with a 115 million quid offer for Alexander Isak. And as a Newcastle fan, I'd imagine you'd probably prefer to keep Isak over Gordon. But it must be a difficult one. Now, if you cast your mind back as well, there was one of the higher ups at Newcastle. I don't want to say what role he was in because I don't remember. But there was somebody at Newcastle who warned fans maybe 2-3 months ago that there could be an uncomfortable decision this summer, that they may have to take one step backwards to take 2 or 3 steps forward. And they've used Liverpool's example with Felipe Coutinho of a way of cashing in on a star and then using that money to rebuild a squad with 2 or 3 good signings. And maybe that's what Newcastle are looking to do here, but I can see how it's unpalatable to any Newcastle fans, the idea of, getting into the Champions League, falling back away last season, and now maybe having to sell one of their star players. Club better back Slot, said Christoph. Rodrigo from Madrid. We'll move on. We'll talk about him, Tanya, in a little while. There have been some murmurings about him, more so from his camp now. I think they're starting to realise that move might be necessary for him to keep up his playing time, because with the options Real Madrid have on attack now, it's seemingly getting more difficult for him to come to grips with the fact that he might not get as many minutes as he probably would like. On Twitter everywhere about Gordon, said Alex. I know, and normally I would ignore that, but it kind of backs up some other stuff. Now, I want to make clear, I don't have any indication or any knowledge of an impending bid for anybody. I just bring the stories to the chat and we discuss them. I'm not saying they're true, they aren't true. Some people get their knickers in a twist a little bit. And I said knickers, by the way, before anybody wants to have a go at me, as in panties. And yeah, it's not me. Like, I'm not saying these stories are true or not true. My job is to bring the stories to you guys, to aggregate the stories, and then we discuss them. Do I think Anthony Gordon's worth £100 million? Absolutely not. But I do think he's a decent player. We looked into as well. I'm always baffled by the fact that we seem to have been linked to left-sided forwards quite a bit. Be it Nico Williams, be it Anthony Gordon. They all seem to be linking us to a left-sided forward, which confuses me if you look at the fact that we've got Darwin, we've got Jota who can play left, we've got Gakpo, we've got Diaz. Surely, if we are looking on the left-hand side, somebody at the club has to admit we're considering moving on one of those players. Probably Diaz. Would I take Kimmich at Liverpool? I would, but I don't think it's likely to happen. And I don't think he'd be my first choice. You know, I want Ederson. That's the midfielder I want Liverpool to bring in. But Joshua Kimmich, I would take for the right price, but it still feels like a short-term answer, and we're going to get back to having to have a long-term solution at some point. Stevie Boy, how are you, bro? Let me just bring your super chat up here. Stevie Boy said, Liverpool would have to pay 126 million for Gordon, which is mind-blowing. Spend that money on a quality DM and centre-back. Why would we have to spend that much? The number I'm seeing is 100 million, but look, 100 million, 126 million, it is still a lot of money and a significant amount higher than Newcastle paid for him when I think they paid, 45 million quid, if my memory's right. We do need to spend money on a quality centre-back and DM as well, Stevie Boy, but again, I can only report what's been talked about in the media. For me, preference-wise, centre-back is probably number one priority, defensive midfielder, and then if we need a forward, grand, but I don't see it as being a glaring deficiency at this minute compared to those other areas. Do I think we'll try to get Calafiori? I don't know. All I can do is report the news about our interest, about the fact that Bologna are resigned to selling him. They want about 40 million quid. They paid 6 million. Basel have a 40% sell-on clause. Liverpool have been mentioned. Arsenal have been mentioned. Juventus have been mentioned. That's all I can say at the minute, because I don't have anything to the contrary to be able to tell you. I wonder what my blue-nosed friends would say if Gordon was in a red shirt. I'm sure that they'd probably see their heads explode. The one player that plays for Everton that I would like Liverpool to be doing some business on is Branthwaite, but unfortunately, we all know that that's highly, highly unlikely. Diaz to start the Copa America with Colombia, the best player. Yeah, but look, the thing about Diaz is the club don't want to move Diaz on. I don't think Liverpool are looking at this summer and thinking, let's get rid of Diaz. I've said this before. He's in a good contractual situation, 3 years to go. Liverpool have him on a fairly reasonable wage, so not a high earner. And I think they're only just looking because they believe Barcelona are going to come knocking. And for me, if Barca come knocking, I think he's going to want to go. And if he does want to go, then it's a matter of trying to get it done quickly, get the best transfer fee and find a replacement. And the fact that we're being linked with so many left forwards really does seem to say to me anyway that the club are expecting something to happen with one of our players on that left side of attack. Sarang said Real Madrid are likely to get Ricardo from Bologna. Are they? It's not what I've seen. I've seen them all over Lenny Yoro, but not seen them mentioned with Ricardo Calafiori yet. But again, if Real Madrid come to the table for any player, it's difficult, isn't it? You know, it's a big looming shadow over any potential transfer if Madrid are interested as well. Darwin seems to be doing well in his country's jersey. Yes, and on Darwin, I just want to bring up a record that Darwin Nunez is after equaling and getting close to smashing. So Darwin Nunez makes history and equals the great Hector Scarone in scoring 7 consecutive games with the Uruguayan national team. And if he scores in the next one, which would be 3 out of 3 in the Copa America, he would break that record and be the first Uruguayan player to score in 8 consecutive international games. So it's good to see Darwin doing well. It's good to see him scoring in both the opening games for Uruguay in the Copa America, and fingers crossed he can carry that good form back into his club. Right. Harry, thank you so much, mate, for your super chat. And he said, I'm surprised the club didn't go in for Douglas Luiz. I am and I amn't. So there's a couple of things about the Douglas Luiz situation. First and foremost, I'd say Villa would be far more comfortable selling him outside the Premier League. The last thing you're going to want to do if you're Villa, who seemingly are only selling him because of PSR. Why am I seeing 7? 10 and 7. Oh, sorry. I'm very confused. I just seen loads of 7s in the chat. And then I realised you were talking about the old 777, sorry. On, what was I talking about there? Darwin. Yeah, I've backed myself into a corner there. I got confused myself on what we were talking about. Oh, Douglas Luiz, yes. So, I think if you're Aston Villa, one, you don't want to have to sell players. You're into the Champions League, you've got wealthy owners, but PSR means they had to kind of free up money. So, if they have to sell Douglas Luiz, like if we had to sell a player, you would want them out of the Premier League. You don't want to sell Douglas Luiz to Arsenal, to Liverpool, or to somebody you consider a rival. I don't like the deal from Villa side that they're getting, over to Juventus, a few quid and some younger players. I think they'd be better placed keeping them, but that's why I don't think we were in, because I don't think Villa would have really done business with us, certainly at the number that he seems to be commanding going over the other way. Last year, Douglas Luiz was being mentioned at 100 million quid to the likes of Liverpool and Arsenal when he was talked about in transfer circles, and you see the value that he's after bringing in for Villa going over to Juventus. It's about, what, 50 odd million? Do you think we will see a Trent contract extension this summer? We had better. That's the fairest answer I can give you, bro, is we better. Because, we're all on edge about this Trent situation. Well, maybe some people aren't, and I wish I was one of those, but I definitely feel it's criminal that we've let it get to this situation. And today, again, I see more stuff about him and Jude Bellingham, and then you've got Connor Cody talking about the fact that Trent and Henderson did everything to try and get Bellingham to Liverpool. That didn't work out, and now obviously we see the opposite side of it. We see Bellingham and Trent together in the talk of Real Madrid. So I hope Liverpool have something up their sleeve with Trent, because the idea of losing him to Real Madrid or anywhere is not a proposition I want to face up to. So, remember yesterday we spoke a little bit about Clive Tyldesley, and we were speaking about the fact that he was linking us with Kavicha Kvaratskhelia. Well, I just want to mention Clive again, because this weekend he brings to an end a 28-year career with ITV in broadcasting, and he's going to be calling his last game for ITV, Denmark against Germany on Saturday, and he is one of the GOATs of football commentary. So I feel like it's only right that we take a moment to acknowledge Mr. Clive Tyldesley and his great career to this point. I've always enjoyed listening to him as a broadcaster. I think he really does do a great job. If you're talking about the best in the industry, for me, he'd be right up there. So yeah, just thought I'd mention it, because 28 years with ITV, it's coming to an end this Saturday, and he's doing Denmark-Germany for his last game. So wishing him all the very best for the remainder of his career, or whatever he chooses to do with the rest of his life. But big fan of his work, and always enjoyed his commentary. Why is everyone forgetting about Bajcetic? We're not. But let me ask you a question, Basir. Honestly, do you think we could go into a season relying on a player who didn't play for the whole of last year, and even if he did put his injury behind him, which I hope he has, because I love Bajcetic, it would be foolish of us to go into the season relying on him. So I don't think anyone's forgotten about him, mate. I think we very much are looking forward to seeing him again. But we just, we've rolled the dice a few times in the transfer market and not come up trumps with regards to hanging off to see if a player can stay fit or his form isn't right. I don't think we can do that with Bajcetic. I think we need to give him the time to ease back in. For Arne Slot to look at him, to figure out if he wants to use him in a 6, an 8, are we going to play with a double pivot? And again, he's a youngster, so plenty of time on his side, but I'm a big fan, and I'm certainly not forgetting about him. LFC Love, thank you for gifting an Anfield Agenda membership, mate. Very kind of you. Loads of lovely stuff in the chat as well about Clive, which is nice to hear. He's brilliant. Tyldesley and Ali McCoy should be doing the final. They're great together. I agree, Graham. Both of them very good broadcasters. Always enjoy listening to Ali McCoy. Whenever he speaks, it's kind of like the enthusiasm he has for the game shines through when Ali McCoy speaks. I always find him brilliant to listen to. Peter Drury, of course, on Sky. It's great to have him involved in the game. But yeah, I just wanted to mention Clive anyway, because what a career that's been. So, Real Madrid star advised on Liverpool move. According to Spanish outlet Sport, Real Madrid star Rodrigo has been advised to make a move to either Manchester City or Liverpool after the La Liga club signed Mbappe this summer. It's believed the Brazilian international is concerned over his playing time after the arrival at Carlo Ancelotti's squad of the French international. 17 goals and 9 assists last season would no doubt turn into a very real threat in English football. The star could be Arne Slot's first marquee signing of the window. Thoughts? Again, this is not me saying this. I'm reading this out from the Echo, who are crediting Sport, who are a Spanish publication. I like him, but not at the price Real Madrid are going to ask for him. Not anywhere near the 120 to 150 million euro. But if you said to me I could have Anthony Gordon or Rodrigo, I'm taking Rodrigo over Anthony Gordon every day of the week. But I want to know what you guys think on it. Which one of those two? If Liverpool had to smash the transfer record to bring in an attacker, who are you having? Would you take Rodrigo or Anthony Gordon? Now, I know there will be other ones that you'd have ahead, but just for shits and giggles, which one of these two? So, we did ask, should Liverpool pay £38 million for Rayan Ait-Nouri? And so far, with 521 votes cast, it's a landslide. 81% of you guys say yes, Liverpool should take the plunge on Rayan Ait-Nouri. Tanya said yes to Rodrigo for 100 mil. I don't rate Rodrigo overrated, said Mo Salah 11. I would have agreed with you up until last season. I feel like you did have a breakthrough campaign for Madrid last year. As we said, 17 goals and 9 assists is not shabby. So yeah, I wouldn't say no. Dave said Rodrigo, Ian Rodrigo, Pranav Gordon, Dave Smith Rodrigo, LFC Love Rodrigo, Rodrigo for Migs, Mike M or Mick M, again Rodrigo for Tayshawn, Gordon for Chris. Interesting. A few shouts there for Anthony Gordon, and whilst I wouldn't mind Anthony Gordon, I don't know, I just, would you not feel like our pants are being pulled down a little bit? Knowing what Newcastle paid from a year ago, for the idea of us then paying more than double that in 1 year, that feels a little bit foolish on our part. I know we couldn't have signed him directly from Everton because they wouldn't have sold to us, but Rodrigo will want to play, but for that we need to sell Salah. Well, yes and no. So with Salah, we know there's 3 outcomes. We have 1 more year with him and he leaves on a free. We sell him this summer, or he signs a contract extension. So for 2 of those options, I think Rodrigo could be an answer. But if you sign him to a contract extension, then I don't see you having to spend that much on Rodrigo. But if Salah was going to leave for free, I would want to look to the future. So if we know Salah has 1 more season before he departs, I wouldn't be against spending the money on a Rodrigo, because it would give us a year to get him up to the Premier League speed, get him used to his new surroundings, and, put pressure on Mo for the last season to see which one of them performs better. So that's where I'm at with it. I think we might get a good indication of what's happening with Salah over the next week or 2. He's currently on holidays, and if there's any negotiations to be done, remember the last time he was away, Liverpool negotiated, so I think we might get some indication of what's happening here over the next week or 2. I'd love to know what you guys think, though, the club are doing with Mohamed Salah. Do you think it's going to be a case of an extension for a year or two? I don't see a sale at this point, if I'm being honest with you. I think it's if I was to hedge my bets here, I'd say it's going to be one or two things, an extension or leaving for free in a year. And one of those is very unpalatable to me. And the other one's a little bit unpalatable, but at least I can not have to look at him leave for free. That would be criminal. What about Xerxes? We were linked, as well as Manchester United, of course, but I can't say I've seen anything new. We spoke about it maybe 3 or 4 days ago, but that's it for me. Like I've not seen anything new. But again, I wouldn't say it's an absolute no, because there are other forwards we've been linked to. One we spoke about before as well, Max Bayer. Another link coming up for him. Said Premier League clubs. Chase, Bundesliga prospect, and caught offside have said Chelsea have joined the race with Liverpool to sign Maximilian Bayer from Hoffenheim. €32 million is the buyout clause in his contract, which is about £27 million. So yeah, again, he's a link that was there even when Jurgen was at the club. So I tend to put more credence to these links if they're around for quite a while. But I don't know enough about Bayer. I don't watch Hoffenheim. Trevor, thank you, mate, for being with us for 5 months. Said it's frustrating we get linked but don't sign anyone. Yes. Yeah. I'm trying to be optimistic in this window, Trevor. I would have liked a signing early doors, but we are where we are. And I find I annoy myself, mate, because at one point I'm saying, where's the money, John? Stop being cheap, FSG. Spend. And then I'll say to you that I do trust Michael Edwards. And I do. So, if I know there's going to be some money spent, there's nobody I'd rather spend it than Michael Edwards, because I truly believe in his methods. And I think he probably does have something up his sleeve. I just don't know what that is yet, or how big a deal. Is it going to be an underrated star that can come in and transform us? Because remember when we signed Mo wasn't... I don't want to say he wasn't pulling up any trees at Roma, because he was doing pretty well, but there was no indications that he was going to do what he did for us. So maybe he has another player like that up his sleeve that might cost us 50 million and looks like a £100 million player. Or maybe it's the big transfer for, dare I say, generational talent. What do I feel is reasonable for Gordon? 70. I think 70 is more than fair. They paid 45, I think. He has come on. He has gotten a bit better. Well, I think 70. Anything over that, and I think it's madness. Any news about Wirtz deal, or is it too far? I think whatever happens with Florian Wirtz is going to be next summer. I don't see anything changing with him at Leverkusen for this season, and then whether it's Bayern, Real Madrid or elsewhere, it'll probably be next season. Is there anyone who you would like us to sign who we have yet been linked with? Do you mean have or haven't? I'm going to think you said that we haven't been linked to. Not really. I think most of the names we've been linked to, some of them I agree with, some of them I don't, but I can't really think of anyone who I'd love to see us bring in and we haven't really been linked with. Ugarte, probably, but I don't know if that's a system thing, because United are putting in cheeky £25 million bids for him. Yeah, probably him. I haven't really seen any newspaper links, but one of the signs we could make, possibly playing in the Copa America or the Euros, will get them in the tournaments over like we did Mac. Yes, absolutely. Potential for that to happen. But for me, I had high expectations that we were going to try and sort the PSR stuff out. So we were going to try and leverage some clubs' positions needing to sell before the end of June. And I wonder if that's going to be the case. Remember how quickly the links to Szoboszlai came about and how quick we got that transfer done. So I'm wondering, is Michael Edwards playing a bit of brinksmanship with a few clubs here over how badly they need to free up some cash so they don't get some points deductions from the Premier League. So I think if we have done nothing by the 1st of July, then I probably agree with you guys that, yeah, it's going to be after the Euros. But from tomorrow onwards, players are going to start getting knocked out of the Euros, so maybe the chances are going to increase. Now, then players probably going to go on a 2 or 3 week holiday, but you can still negotiate at that point. Would I sign Edson Alvarez? I would not, no. I think there are better options, and Ederson is the player that I want in that position. Everton Onana, again, we don't sign players from Everton. It's not going to happen, and he is being linked with a move somewhere else. I can't remember where it is. I'm sure somebody in the chat will know. But yeah, Onana looks like he is departing. Everton are bringing in another midfielder. Okay, let me just get this super chat up. 1 second. Is it this one? Yeah. Sorry, I'm working on a new system where I'm able to bring the super chats up on screen myself, and it's taken me a little bit of time to get used to it. So, how much is Salah worth at the minute to European clubs, is the question from Harry, and thank you, Harry. I think there's only one European club that would be of interest to sign him, and that's probably PSG. So what's he worth to PSG? 70, maybe? It's so difficult. Like, there are comparables. So if we look at what Bayern played for Harry Kane, similar age profile to Mohamed Salah, similar length of time left on his contract, and they paid up to, I think, 100 million euro. So 70 million pounds, about 82 million euro. So maybe around that mark. But honestly, at this point, I don't get the feeling we're going to sell Salah. I think it's run down the contract or contract renewal. And yeah, there's certainly been no indications that there's conversations ongoing with Saudi or anything like that. Lucas said, Craig, just letting you know, you have a very nice setup here. Keep at the work, mate. Thank you, mate. That's lovely of you to say. We've got a new studio that Ben is designing at the minute that we're going to be launching in the latter part of July for the new season, with some other technical upgrades and that as well in the background. But I appreciate the kind words, mate. Thank you very much. Right, my friends, if I can ask you a little favour, if you haven't, please do hit that like button for me and hit the subscribe button as well. I really do appreciate you guys being here with us as always, and thank you to everyone who's coming along to our live shows as well. You know the drill at this point. You can get your tickets with the link in the chat or on the QR code on the screen or the link in the description, and tickets are priced at just £15. Cardiff August 2nd, Liverpool August 4th. Liverpool show selling so well. We're really excited about it. We've released another 70 tickets last week. We're down to about 40 something of those left. So if you want to come along, you know the drill. Right, let's get talking about more links. So another Bayer Leverkusen player who we've actually been linked to is Odilion Kosunu. Now, excuse my pronunciation. Fabrizio Romano speaking has said that talks are said to be taking place over a £38 million move. United and Newcastle are also credited with an interest in him. I know nothing about him. Bild reports that no bids have been made yet. They question Liverpool's seriousness about the player while acknowledging that there is a market for him. Ivory Coast International, I don't really know anything about the guy, to be honest with you, other than we've been linked with him for the past week. What's this one? So the Anthony Gordon deal to Newcastle was 40 million quid of 5 million in add-ons. So yeah, that's quite a markup if they're expecting 100 million quid if anybody comes in from. Do you think if it's a good idea they sell Salah to get Rodrigo? Of course, it should be a no-brainer. You know, I don't understand at this point how anybody doesn't think selling Salah right now is the right option. But even if you don't, surely letting him go for free isn't an option that sits well with anybody. So yes, of course, I would sell him to buy Rodrigo. I'd sell him to buy Bowen. I'd sell him to buy Nico Williams. I'd sell him to buy anybody that's in their early 20s. I know Bowen is different. I mentioned Bowen. He's, 28? So, you know, he's just, for me, someone you could drop straight into the team and would perform would do well in the system, would put up numbers, knows the Premier League. He's just the perfect replacement. The reason it's not probably realistic is twofold. One, the amount of money that it would cost to get him for his age, and two, the contract that he signed at West Ham, which I think was a 6 or 7 year deal, so they're under no pressure in that regard to sell. Are those them fake tattoos that you can buy from the joke shops? No, mate, no, your mum drew these on earlier on for me. They're good, aren't they? Yeah, I'm a 42-year-old man who goes around drawing on fake tattoos, mate. Yeah, that's it. They were licked on by a fucking kitten. Oh, God. Can I just ask if, and it is an if, Mo was to have an unbelievable season this year, would that change your minds on the contract? Would you still let him leave for free? I've got no problem with him getting a new deal. It's not my preference, but I've got no problem with it. My preference is to sell, but after that, a new contract is fine. It's not my preference, but at least, you know, you've got some security that you have him for the next few years there. You know, it's a decision that the club have to make whether they feel like a renewal's worth the investment or not. But yeah, I just don't want them leaving for free. I just think it'd be madness to look back and think that Firmino, Mane and Salah went for a combined 35 million euro. That just doesn't sit well. Murillo for part exchange for Kelleher for 30 million cash. Murillo is actually attracting a lot of interest. I think Juventus and I think a couple of other European clubs, as well as Liverpool and some Premier League clubs, have been linked with him. Yes, you could do something there if they wanted Kelleher, absolutely. Now, while we're talking about goalkeepers, actually, an interesting link today that I'm sure you guys have probably seen is that Liverpool are interested in Brazilian goalkeeper Bento. He plays for Atletico Paranaense. And they've refused a 15 million euro bid from Inter Milan, who decided to move on and look elsewhere to sign, I think, Josep Martinez. So I can see some sense in this one. He's 25 years of age. If we do lose Kelleher, bringing in another Brazilian goalkeeper, I'm sure would work well with Alisson, Taffarel, Pitaluga. I can see this one having some sense to it. And again, the price point, if you got what you wanted for Kelleher, that would be fairly good business from the club's perspective. Now, I've not watched them play. He is a Brazilian international. Anybody know what about him? When I see Bento, I immediately think of Bento Box, which is, I think, a food thing from India. Maybe, am I right in that one? Some little box with food in it, isn't it? But yeah, I don't know anything about him. Sky reported Murillo worth 70 million. Yeah, no, pass. He's not worth 70 million. I agree with you when you said F that. I'm with you on that one. If Liverpool manage to sign Ait-Nouri, does that mean we won't go for Calafiori? It's a good question. I do struggle to see us bringing in two defenders without selling one. So for me, what I would suggest is if we signed Ait-Nouri, it would be more an indication that we're going to move on Costas. That would be my reading of the situation. But I wouldn't rule out Calafiori because of Ait-Nouri. I don't think we'd be looking at, you know, there has been some talk that maybe Liverpool wanted Calafiori as a left-back cover as well, but I don't see it. And I don't really know how strong our interest is in him either with regards to Juventus and other clubs coming in. You know, if we want to make an offer, then let's make an offer. But at the minute, it's all just guesswork from everybody. Oh, it's Japanese bento. Ah, okay. I just knew I'd heard the phrase bento box before. There you go. Thank you for the filling in of that bit of information for me. Right, good news around Mohamed Salah. Well, not brilliant news, but good news. Mohamed Salah is set to provide a huge pre-season boost to Liverpool with the news that Egypt are increasingly resigned that he will not be playing at the Olympics for them. I've said this to you guys before. Clubs aren't under any obligation to release players for the Olympics. It isn't a FIFA sanctioned tournament, so Liverpool could have said no anyway, and probably would have said no, but it looks like Egypt are finally coming around to the idea that Liverpool aren't going to be releasing Mo for another international tournament. Yeah, which is good news, because if they're moving the Copa America forward, or no, excuse me, the AFCON forward again, and we've just had another one, and then he was at the Olympics, it would start to feel like he basically spent more time with Egypt. So glad that Liverpool don't have to worry about that headache. Not good business. Front three gone for 30 million. It'd be crazy to me to see them all leave for that much. Especially when we were always told that the whole point about bringing in these players was that we do sell them in the future and recoup some money. You know, letting them all run their contracts down and leave for next to nothing doesn't seem like a good business model to me. Right, I'm going to end this Ait-Nouri poll because we've had more than enough votes on it to see that almost 80%, 79% of you guys said yes, Liverpool should sign Rayan Ait-Nouri for the rumoured £38 million transfer fee. Does Salah have a say in what he does for the Olympics matter? If we say no, does it anger him? I'm sure that if he wanted to go and Liverpool said no, like any other player in any other circumstance, it would probably piss him off a bit. He is human. But ultimately, the club has to draw a line somewhere. Whether it's Salah, Van Dijk, Trent or anybody else. Our job right now is to make sure that our players are ready for pre-season and to work with a new coach. The more time that we can get with all of these guys on the training pitches, with Arne Slot, with Chip Gahulshoff and the rest of the coaching team, the better. So I'm sure it would be a disappointment, but I'm also sure he'd understand Liverpool's side of this. He's always been brilliant representing his country. He's always been very proud, of course, to represent Egypt. Does so with huge amounts of enthusiasm. But this is one of those situations where I think Liverpool or any club would have to kind of put their foot down a little bit and look after our own interests. What current Liverpool player would make the best manager? McAllister, probably. I think Alisson would make a good manager as well. But yeah, off the top of my head, probably McAllister. Liverpool have always let players go on a free. Right, but my problem with that, mate, is we're a club that minds our pennies, right? And we're a club that's always told we spend what we can bring in. We spend what the club turns over. The idea of... Because this is the way I see it. If Salah doesn't get sold this summer, we've basically admitted that he's worth 100 million quid to us for a year. And I can't get my head around. So letting players go for free doesn't make it a good thing. Some of the players have gone for free because we couldn't get rid of them because they were on high wages. But in some circumstances, it can't always be the right thing to do. Like, are you telling me that if Trent, Virgil and Salah all ran down their deal and left for free, you'd be okay with it? Because it would baffle me when I have to hear John crying poor arse about not having any money, or the club doing everything they can to free up as much transfer funds for the manager as possible, and yet throwing away the idea of 100 million quid. It just doesn't add up in my mind. How much wiggle room do we have in terms of money to spend? It depends what way you're asking the question. I don't know what the budget is, but let's say for profit and sustainability rules, millions, like I think £173 million was the wiggle room before the end of this month, which is the new financial year end, or the end of the financial year, start of the new one. So we were nowhere near it. Like, you're allowed £105 million losses. We're in the other side of it. We're 173 that we could still spend. So we're nowhere near falling afoul of any of those profit and sustainability. Even with regards to FFP, the last numbers I got, and I'm sure these have changed, were that Liverpool were spending about 64% of turnover on transfer fees and wages and whatnot, which the aim is about, I want to say it's 75% for UEFA and 85% for the Premier League. So even at that, we're being run in a healthy way. The club aren't taking on debt or anything like that. Craig, I hope you're well. I now think that every bid is just for show and not genuine. I can understand it, Adam. You know, I get it. Like last summer, bidding 150 million for a player we didn't get. I understand. And then ending up with an £18.5 million player. But my question would be, how long could they get away with that if that was the case? So if they were talking shit and just putting these offers in, how long before fans really cop on to that? I feel like they've been given more than enough benefit of the doubt in the transfer market, and it's time to call them out a bit more. You know, last season was our big rebuild, and we were the 6th biggest spenders. And even at that, 90 million was our net spend, and that's the biggest net spend we've had since FSG took over the football club. It's not a lot if you look at what other clubs have spent net. Now, net spend, it's not the be-all and end-all, because the better you are at selling, the more fees you bring back in, obviously the better your net spend is. But even on just the sale or just the spend alone, not even taking into account the net, we were 6th. And we were behind Arsenal, Manchester City, I think Newcastle, Spurs and United. And that was our rebuild. Let me just get this super chat up from Harry. 1 second, mate. So, Harry said, if we sell Salah to bring in new talent and it's time for Dom and Elliott to become superstars, Salah causes drama when he sits on the bench, may harm his legacy. For me, the whole thing has been this. With all the best intentions in the world to any player going into the last year of the contract at any football club, and this is not aimed at Mohamed Salah, I don't see how you can honestly, in your heart, believe you're going to get 100% from that player, no matter how professional you think they are. For me, if I'm in their shoes, or if you're in their shoes, you look at it and you think, right, I've got to make sure that I get the next deal sorted. I've got to make sure I get paid, and I've got to make sure that I've got a future. So, am I going to play if I have a niggle? Am I going to go full-hearted into all these challenges? Am I going to run through a wall for the manager? I don't know. I'd like to think the answer is yes, but deep down, we're all inherently selfish people and you look after your own interests. On top of that, what bugs me about the whole situation is all we'd hear about is what he's going to do in January. Between the end of the window and January transfer window, all we'd hear about is where Salah's going to go after we leave Liverpool, or where Virgil's going to go after we leave Liverpool, or where Trent is going to go after we leave Liverpool. And that's a distraction. So there are too many reasons for me that it doesn't make sense to allow these players to go into that last year. And very few reasons that it makes sense to me. So, you know, that's my opinion on it. It hasn't changed throughout the whole window. It isn't going to change, but it is just that. Just my opinion. Anyone know how City's trial against Premier League is going? It's been awful quiet. It's not taking place till, I think, was it November? We were expecting that trial to take place. Or the hearing, I should say. Yeah, I think it's November. Verge is old, doesn't tackle, has no aura anymore. Just sell him. We'd be lucky if we get 5 million. Washed player. That's a lovely way to speak about your club captain, mate. Look, any player at that age is probably going to start slowing down somewhat. But I ain't selling Virgil van Dijk. I would be more than happy to give him another year or two. I know he comes under a lot of scrutiny when he plays for the Netherlands, particularly from former Dutch players, but just not for me. I wouldn't be selling him. Not with the young centre-backs we have at the club as well. I'd be keeping him around. And he's our captain, and we've got a Dutch coach now. You know, I understand some of your points. Like, I often look at Virgil and think, get the finger out. You know, a bit more energy, a bit more enthusiasm. Certainly in his leadership, I'd like a little bit more aggression, anger. But, you know, that's just the style of player he is. How are Chelsea getting away with FFP, said Alex Roach. Let me just bring that up, Alex. Sorry, mate. I don't understand it. I would love to sit here and give you an answer. But the truth is, mate, I don't understand how any sports team in the world can spend £1 billion in a year, and that wasn't net, that's just what they spent, and not at least draw some red flags. And Chelsea seemingly just go about their business and do whatever they want. And yet again, we're seeing them be linked to everybody. You know, wingers, defenders, young players. I don't know how he gets away with it. I remember distinctly being told by most of the media that if Chelsea didn't get Champions League football this season, that they would be in real trouble because they've basically bet on themselves getting Champions League football. And they're in the Europa Conference League, if I'm not mistaken. So where's the issue now? Where's all these warnings that we were told? How can they suddenly be okay? I know they're selling themselves hotels and a few other bits and pieces, but like, it feels like they've always been able to get away with it. Going back 10, 15 years ago, nobody seems to be able to hold Chelsea to account for these things. And fans all around the world, we're all equally as confused. I don't understand it, but clearly they're doing something that has enabled them to do it. What that is, your guess is as good as mine, because I'm not savvy enough to know. Van Dijk is still great. He was one of our best last season. Statistically, Jens, he was one of the best in Europe last season as well, mate. So yeah, look, I was worried about Virg the season before because he did look shaky coming back from the ACL. But last year, I felt much more comfortable. I don't like his style of leadership. I've said this consistently, but I do differentiate that from Virg the player. Virg the player, I think, I don't see any reason why you wouldn't keep him. Did they make the Conference League? I thought United took that spot. No, United got into the Europa League, mate, by winning the FA Cup. So they went straight into the Europa League. Tayshawn said, it was saying over in the Mirror that Gareth Southgate is set to make just one change to the England 11 for Slovakia. Yeah, bringing in Kobe Mainoo in midfield. Well, that's Gareth Southgate for you. I don't know what else to say to that. If he thinks that that's the only change he needs to make, then I think England fans are going to be in for another tough 90 minutes. Right, I'm just looking through my notes. Bear with me. Does anybody... Actually, do you know what? I'm going to just ask this simple question with a poll. So bear with me 1 second. Okay. I want to just ask you a simple question. Do you believe that we're interested in Gordon? Put aside the fee for a minute, but just, I want to know, do you guys think that Liverpool are really interested in Anthony Gordon? Because at the start of the summer, the Echo were banging on quite a bit about Anthony Gordon. And almost, I don't want to say teasing, but he's come up quite a bit. And today, obviously, we've seen there's loads of stuff on social media about it. I struggle to see it, personally. I struggle to see how Liverpool or Michael Edwards would look at this and go, this is the one for us to break the bank on. This is the generational talent for us to pin our colours to the mast. I just don't see it. I understand always wanting to bring in a homegrown player. I get that. But this doesn't seem like the hill to die on for me. Newcastle do not want to sell any of their star players this window, but are aware of the situation with PSR if they don't sell, as per Sky. We spoke about that earlier on as well. It will be Diaz out and Gordon in, said Julian Evans. So, yeah, I'm of the belief the club think that Diaz is going. Despite all the stuff that we hear from the journalists and all this conversation about Liverpool are planning for the season with Diaz, I really don't think they are. I think that the club know that Barcelona are doing everything to sell Rafinha and free up that money. Now, apparently Rafinha doesn't like the idea of going to Saudi Arabia based off reports I've read over the last 24 hours. And I can't blame him because he's not at that point of his career yet where it's time to, ease into retirement. So maybe they're going to have to work harder to sort that situation out. But if they ever do get the money for a player or have the opportunity to put Liverpool an offer for Diaz, I genuinely see us then selling, because I can see him wanting to leave. So I don't believe the club when they say, or brief journalists, that they're going into this season expecting Diaz to be there. I really just don't believe it. Isaac Play said, rather sell Salah than Diaz. So would I, for many reasons. One, the contract. Two, the age. Diaz 27, right in his prime. And I'm happy with Diaz. I think Diaz is a very good player. I've no qualms about him being kept at the club whatsoever. 3 years to go on his deal, as I've mentioned many times, on a reasonable wage. Yeah, it's good for us. This is one of those transfers that we're actually in a good position to dictate what happens. They want to keep Diaz, then they'll keep Diaz. And I'm absolutely fine with that. But I just feel like the club are preparing in case that Barca money does free up. Don't see a huge difference between Gordon and Diaz. I prefer Diaz, said Dave Smith. So I guess off the top of my head, age would be one, homegrown would be another, potential to continue to develop and get better, whereas Diaz probably hovering in and around his prime right now. Why don't we sign somebody and then sell Diaz? Nobody would know what money we have if we're going to. That's usually the preference, but then the problem is what happens if the Diaz deal falls through and you're stuck with a player who knew you wanted rid of him. He's not exactly going to be motivated, is he, to perform at his best? And then you've brought in competition as well to go up against them. So it's a tough one. It's a tough one. It is. But again, I want to just reiterate one thing. For everything we're saying tonight, I trust Michael Edwards implicitly. I wouldn't play poker with that man. And I'm somebody who loves to kind of play a bit of brinksmanship in a deal or in a transaction. And Michael Edwards to me is like a ninja. He's just, I've every faith in him. I just don't have faith in John W. Henry writing the checks. Gakpo is better than Diaz. Right, Dean, here's what I'll say to you, bro. I would fully be going into this season with Gakpo starting ahead of Diaz. If the league started tomorrow, Diaz will be on the bench for me, and I'd be going with Cody Gakpo. Because I think he finished the season well. I think he's playing well with the Netherlands. He's operating on that left side, looking way more comfortable. Arne Slot coming in a Dutch coach. Yeah, I agree. If the league started tomorrow, I'd be with you. I'd be starting Gakpo over Diaz. It's Marley said, Craig, if we sign Calafiori and Ait-Nouri, do you think the club would sell Canade to, for example, PSG for 40 to 60? So, I don't know, but I'm going to give you my take. I think that's the fairest I can be with you, my friend. Canade is a really tough one for me because in one hand, I see a player who can be a leader, world class, a beast, really nice fella, humble. But then on the other side, I also see a guy who seems to pick up quite a few muscle strains and knocks, finished the season quite poorly with us. And there are a few other aspects of his game that worry me. I think he gets too touch tight to players. I think he gives away some needless free kicks. And I don't know at what point you make a decision as to which one he's going to develop into. Is he going to become another Van Dijk, or is he going to become a player who frustrates? I don't know. I wouldn't be looking to sell, and it wouldn't be anywhere near the top of my list of priorities, but I could see a world where somebody would look at him and think, I'm unsure of how this is stacking up. But I love Ibu when he's on form, and I want him to succeed because he comes across like a lovely fella. He's a monster of a fella as well. And when he's on it, I think he's a brilliant centre-back. But injuries, form, it is a bit concerning. Put it this way. Do I think you can rely on him to play 30 league games in a season alongside Van Dijk? No, I don't. And that's the concerning part. Do I think he's good enough alongside Van Dijk? Yes. But do I think we can build a partnership there? I don't. And that worries me because all good defences in history have really had that centre-back pairing that are almost bulletproof. You know, you look back over the years at all the great defences, whether it was Chelsea under Mourinho, United with Sir Alex Ferguson, Wenger at Arsenal. They all had a commanding pair of centre-halves that were pretty robust. Gakpo is looking like the player Klopp saw, said Jace Hickman. I think he's looked brilliant, mate. And he looks really comfortable in his own skin as well. Like, he looks like he belongs. He feels he belongs. He knows how good he is. I like him. And I like how confident he's looking. So yeah, we have to utilise him more on the left-hand side, though. We have to keep playing him there. This false nine stuff, I think, needs to come to an end for him. I think Slot will change Canade's mindset when he settles in, said Jace. If Edwards and Slot want Gordon and FSG will stump up the cash, then let's go for it. Let's not worry about the price. See, there's a good point to that as well, Paul. Like, should we be arsed as fans about the price? Or should we just ask the question, does this player, whoever it is, improve the squad? And I'm often torn about that myself, because ultimately we should only care about the squad being improved, right? We know that we're not in any perilous financial position. We know the owners aren't putting us in a risky spot. So I kind of get where you're coming from, you know. Would he improve the team? Maybe, yeah. So should I care about the fee? Probably not. But if it stops us in other areas, I think that's where I'd be a bit concerned. It feels like these players feel the weight of the badge more with Liverpool at times compared to their international teams. I don't think they do, you know. I think playing for Liverpool is a joy rather than a weight. Like, I mean, look at the English players right now. They feel the weight of the jersey and expectation and history and the longing for that big win on the world stage in '66. Jurgen got us that league title. We've won a European Cup in recent history. I don't think there is as much pressure on Liverpool, you know. I think Liverpool, yeah, I don't make that connection myself. We already have 2 class left wingers, don't say we need another one. Again, the whole conversation told would be that we'd be losing a left winger. If in this scenario we brought in Kvaratskhelia, Nico Williams, Anthony Gordon, I think it would be because we know that somebody's going, and that somebody's probably going to be Diaz. If he's not going, then I don't think this conversation needs to happen. Craig, looking back on it, I'm still baffled why we didn't go for Van de Ven before he joined Spurs. Same, Stephen, I've said it for ages, mate. He feels like the one that got away for me, and the more I see him with Spurs, the more I wish we'd signed him. I know we had a bit of an injury-riddled season, but rattled. But yeah, the price seemed reasonable. His pace is phenomenal, and I would have loved him. He definitely feels like one that got away. Shay said Diaz isn't class. Last year he did 13 goals, if I'm not mistaken, and that's similar to Mane's worst season at Liverpool. And remember, he's supposed to be the guy who comes in to replace Mane. So yeah, it's I can see people on both sides of the debate. I like Lucho though. I think if you take away the end product, he still gives you a lot. Work rate, press. He could do with adding a few more. I think Edwards can get Gordon and Calafiori for a combined 100 million. No. Remember, when you're buying Premier League to Premier League, there's a premium. And Newcastle, in your scenario, would have to... What? Calafiori for £35 million. You're talking about 65 million? I don't know if Newcastle would sell for that when they paid 40, going to 45. I mean, I wish you were right. I'd love you to be right. I don't agree. First Lenny Yoro, now Calafiori. We need to take Madrid down. Look, we're all sick of Madrid. You know, I'm not going to sit here and say it's not concerning. There's nothing more deflating than when you're in for a player like Calafiori and then you hear Real Madrid want them. Because you know you're not going to compete. You might compete with an English player or a player who grew up in, let's say, Africa, where the Premier League's more watched than, let's say, South America, where they'd more look towards the continent for like Barcelona, Real Madrid. Yeah. It's a tough one. It is. I get it. But if I was to put my money down for the left back or left centre back role, I think I'd be putting it on Mark Gay from Crystal Palace as the most likely. For a few reasons. Mostly homegrown. I like the price point at 65 million. He's experienced now. For me, if I was to guess, I would say that that's the most likely one, personally. But it is just that, a guess. Calafiori feels a little bit like match of the day fever. And the only thing that really keeps me totally interested in Calafiori is the fact that I know Richard Hughes was looking at him even when he was at Bournemouth. So there is definitely some credence to the fact that Richard Hughes likes the player. Who would you like to win the Euros? Angus, thank you for your super chat, mate. Who would I like to win the Euros? The Netherlands. They won't, but you're asking me who I'd like to. I'd love somebody like Turkey, Romania, somebody, a surprise. It's always lovely when you see like Greece, Denmark winning the Euros in the past. So yeah, a surprise would be nice rather than a France, a Spain, a Germany. Calafiori is very versatile and that's what we like about him. Absolutely understandable, Yusuf. Calafiori ticks so many boxes. Age profile, yes. Price point, reasonable. Experience, he's got it. And he's got it on the international stage now as well. It does. It makes loads of sense. And I would have no problems with it whatsoever. And I hope Calafiori is the option because he looks legit. But at this point, if I said to you I would have a clue, I'd be lying. I don't have a Scooby-Doo what's going on. And I don't think anyone does. I think anyone that tells you they know is a liar. And as I've said about the media all summer, the great are telling us who we're not interested in this summer. Everyone seems to be briefed by the club about who isn't a realistic target or who isn't high on the priority list. But nobody's gone out on a limb to say, you want this player. Liverpool want X or Y. I've not seen anybody say it. Did I say Iceland instead of England? Well, I'm confused. What did I say? What mistake did I make? I'm sure I made one because I make many, but what did I say instead of England? I don't even know what I was talking about there. Confused, sorry. I hate Liverpool during the transfer windows. It's so jarring. Oh, you said Iceland. Sorry, I don't know what I was saying. Was I talking about the Euro winners? Because, yeah, I meant somebody like, as I said, Romania, Turkey, the Netherlands. A surprise winner. I just hope we make our first signing by next week. I'm tired of waiting, said Yusuf. I'm hoping we make it before Monday. And I know that sounds unrealistic, but this PSR stuff, I want to believe we're ready to capitalise on clubs who are getting desperate. Do you personally want Gordon at Liverpool? No, I don't. Roger, he wouldn't be anywhere near the top of my list. No, I'd have Nico Williams every day of the week. Yeah, not for me. But like any player, if Liverpool sign a player, I'll get behind them and wish them the best and want them to succeed. But no, I wouldn't be sitting here saying that I'm praying we sign Anthony Gordon. No, far from it. But I'll support whoever the club sign until they prove us, that they aren't good enough or are good enough. I think everyone deserves the benefit of the doubt when you sign them. And same for our manager. I hated all this conversation that maybe he was a scapegoat or maybe he was a sacrificial lamb to come in after Klopp before the real next manager comes in. Like, I don't buy into that. Liverpool were left in a good spot by Jurgen. He did some good business last summer. Yes, it's not finished. There are still things we need to do, but I really like Arne Slot and I'm excited to see what he can do on the training ground with the players. And, Bald loves Bald. And I'm here to support my bald brother. Angus, thank you again, mate, for another super chat. You've said, coming in late, what's going on? Just a lot of conjecture, really, bro. In all honesty, like there's more and more stuff starting to creep up now about Liverpool and Anthony Gordon, but it's yet to be really backed up by credible journalists. A lot of stuff from the ITKs, a lot of stuff from sites. I say names and I don't want to undermine anyone, but like Caught Offside, that kind of stuff. I don't know. At the minute, it is one of these really frustrating windows where I'm one of the few people I think who are actually going to come on and say to you, I don't have a clue. I have no interest. I could not tell you one player right now that I'd put 50 quid on a sign. Not one. That's how unsure I am. What I do believe is we are going to do business, and I believe Edwards is going to shock us with something. Whether it's a name we haven't spoken about, who comes in and hits the ground running and does numbers. My faith is in him this summer, and in Arne Slot's coaching abilities, obviously, on top of it. But I'm like everybody else. I'm on edge. I'm excited, I'm nervous, and I'm waiting to see what the squad is like. Fidget, let me just get your super chat up on screen, mate. Hello, Craig. How are you doing? Slot seems excited. He does. I don't see why he wouldn't. He's coming into a great club. As he said, Jurgen set the fans up to get behind him. Started the little Arne Slot song. We hope he gets back in the market. And yeah, I'm really excited about Arne Slot. I know that other Premier League clubs tried really hard to bring him in the past. Spurs looked at bringing him in before they brought in their current gaffer, Postecoglou, who I think Slot turned down Spurs, if my memory's right. Leeds and maybe Chelsea were also credited with having looked at him, and it was Liverpool that made him decide to take the jump. So, yeah, let's wish him the best and get behind him. Let me just bring that super chat back down. Sorry, I'm still getting to grips with this new back-end system myself here tonight, so bear with me. Can you check out Fabrizio's post? I don't have Twitter, mate. I'm not on Twitter. So I've no problem if somebody wants to send me the post to read it out. I don't have it, so I can't log in to see it. NSC, how are you, my friend? So greetings from Luxembourg. Any thoughts on Germany? Well, firstly, welcome in and thank you for joining us. Yeah, any thoughts on Germany? I'm pleasantly surprised by them in this Euros. They have, they've kind of flattered to deceive up to this point, before the competition, I mean, but as soon as they kicked off in the first game, you can see the enthusiasm, the energy, and the belief in the German team under Julian Nagelsmann. So, yeah, full credit. I think they've been brilliant so far in the Euros. Fabrizio's post is about Ugarte Man United links. Well, they offered 25 or something, wasn't it? Which is, typical United in this window. Right, another super chat. Where have we got? There we go. Craig Houlden. La 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 la. Craig Houlden. La 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 la. Yeah, thank you for the super chat, mate. Appreciate it. I don't think that'll be rocking around Anfield anytime soon, but there you go. Appreciate your support as always. Look, it's been a great thing for me that Arne Slot's come into Liverpool. Immediately, I was getting used in memes and stuff like that, so I'm all good about it. Terence said, I've got transfer fatigue, so much speculation, cross fingers and disappointments, don't know how you do it. It is tough, man. You know, it is. Every day I get up and I try to have an optimistic head on, and I try to dream, and then I remember who our owners are, and then I remember that we are still Liverpool. So, yeah, look, I won't lie, I love transfer season, but it does get tiring, you're right. And your emotions do go up and down. And there's nothing worse than a big letdown. So, last summer, when we thought we got Caicedo, and we all jumped on, we had that really late stream, and we had like 11,000 people in the live chat, and I was convinced we were winning the league for the next 5 years, and it felt like that was it. Puzzle completed. That fell through, and now we've kind of chugged along since. Had a good season. You know, I won't say I wouldn't have been happy with the season before the season, but when you're there and you fall away at the end, you kind of just wonder, a bit more squad depth, a little bit more firepower, another defender, maybe we could have actually gone and won one of the big ones. You know, the fact we didn't take part in the Europa League final in Dublin is never going to sit well with me. I would have loved Jurgen's last game to be in Dublin, lifting the Europa League, but yeah, I'm a glutton for punishment. I do love transfer season. Stephen Iron said, Caicedo broke me. Even the year we had the brilliant summer, like where we got Alisson and all in, the Fekir part at the end of that still just left a sour taste in the mouth, because it almost felt like, again, we were really close to almost the perfect summer, but yet we were a little bit away. And that kind of seems to always be the case. Like, I look at clubs like Real Madrid, and they go out there and they're so surgical in what they need and how they get them, and they just go out and they execute it and they bring in the players. Manchester City, for all their money, have also done that. You've got to say, if they have a deficiency in their squad, they're pretty good about going out there and filling it. You could say it's easy with endless money, and I get that, but it always feels like we're catching up rather than looking to get ahead. So you win the Premier League, and do we go out there and make statement? Do we go out there and make a couple of big signings to show the world this isn't a once-off? No. We sit back again. Right now, I have a feeling we're going to be told, if we get the Trent, Salah and Virgil stuff sorted, that this is a successful summer. It's not, if that's the case. You know, this shouldn't have never got to this point. And we should be looking at the squad going, right, they're boxed off, whatever the reason was, Virgil, Salah and Trent. That should be boxed off by now. And we should be looking to bring in 3 players, and that's it. You know, if you lose somebody, you replace somebody else. But right now, I feel like we still need the centre-back we needed last year. And yeah, it's frustrating, because I'm sure that they see this. I'm sure, like, us fans, like, we're not, with all due respect to all of us, we're not geniuses. Like, this is fairly obvious stuff that we need a centre-back. And then you take into account we've lost Thiago as well. And my mind says, well, that's 250 grand a week that's freed up, or 200 grand a week that's freed up. That's 10 million quid a year. Surely the club are going to put that to use to bring somebody else in. And I'm sure they will. But right now, it's the real nervous time where we don't know what's happening. And we're hopeful, but we've been burned before. Yusuf, how are you, my friend? Said, I hope we get Calafiori, Kimmich, Ugarte or Rodrigo. Sorry I haven't been in the chat lately. I've been struggling with my mental health and my anxiety. I haven't been myself lately, but I'm hoping I'm hopping in to see you and hope the chat are well. Keane, I hope things pick up for you, bro. Again, please never feel like you have to apologise to us for not being in streams or anything, mate. Your health is the most important thing. I'm glad you're in here with us. It's lovely to see you back in. And yeah, I hope things pick up for you a little bit, mate. But lots of love, as always. Keyword, Craig, execution. We're so poor at it. This is why I feel hopeful, though, with Michael Edwards. Michael Edwards, to me, is the best in the business at what he does. And even look at it now. Look how good it's been, how quiet the rumours are. Like, Every other club you can talk about, you can see some concrete interest in players. Offers gone in, but Liverpool, there's still a load of speculation. Like United, we know they wanted Ugarte, offer went in. We know they wanted to sign Branthwaite, offer went in. Chelsea have done some bits and pieces. We haven't nailed our colours to any mast yet, and nobody's been able to come out here and say categorically that Liverpool are trying to sign anyone. We've had guesses. We've had people over in Italy talk about an offer forthcoming for Ederson, which hasn't. We had the Koopmeiners stuff as well. Then we had the Calafiori stuff. But none of this has been backed up with any semblance of an offer. So it's all nerve-wracking shit, isn't it? Let's be honest. That's not a good thing. Well, look, if you said to me, Craig, at the end of this window, you'll get the 3 signings, I do prefer our club's business being done in private. I do prefer the fact that nobody has a clue about it, as long as there's an outcome at the end of it. Like, I don't like leaks from football clubs. I say this to you about Romano all the time. I hate the fact that he gets information from agents or clubs who want leverage in a negotiation. I love things being done quietly. I'm somebody in life who likes to do my own problem solving behind the scenes and, put on a public persona of calm and reassurance and happiness and jolliness, even if my life's in trouble or if I'm in a bad place. So I like Liverpool doing this, but it has to be backed up with the actual business. Harry, thank you for your super chat. My friend said, which former player would you like as an assistant coach? As an assistant coach, Thiago. I think Thiago would be a very good assistant coach. Sami Hyypiä, I wouldn't mind him coming back into football as an assistant coach. Jimmy Milner, if he ever wants to go into the coaching side of things, I think Jimmy Milner coming back would be excellent. Also, Lucas Leiva. I'd love to see Lucas Leiva back involved in football again at the club. There's a lot, actually. We're kind of lucky that we've had some really good players who stayed involved in the game. Sammy managed Leverkusen when he hung up his boots. So yeah, loads of them. Edwards is the best. Nobody knows who we're after. The story that got me about Edwards was the one that was mentioned about when we were signing Jurgen Klopp. That Edwards was at the hotel that Klopp was staying in, secretly kind of lurking, watching, seeing who he was interacting with. That type of stuff is mental, but also so goddamn cool. And Edwards just seems like nobody has a read on him. Even if you just look at his background. I remember in the summer, I was making a video at the start of the summer about Arne Slot, Richard Hughes, Michael Edwards. And I was doing my research to get as much info as I can. It's very difficult to find out much about Michael Edwards. Even looking for photographs of Michael Edwards is difficult. So he is somebody that intentionally operates in the shadows. And I love that about him. Because he doesn't want to be front and centre, bragging, laughing, being the centre of attention. He just wants to get shit done in a good way. And I love that about him. I would say Mascherano, due to how his mentality was as a player, said Yusuf. He has a football club, actually, an academy, Javier Mascherano, over in Argentina. I stumbled across that somehow a few months ago. I didn't even know he had it until then. Luis Garcia would be a good assistant coach. Had the pleasure of meeting Luis Garcia. Really nice fella. Really intelligent guy. Assistant coach Xabi Alonso. I think he may be a step above assistant coach at this minute, but I am there with you. Like, Xabi Alonso is an incredible coach. Right, look, for those coming in late, what I'm going to do is what I always do around this time. I'm going to run through all of today's transfer stories or all of today's Liverpool news from start to finish over the next few minutes. So, bear with me as I go through this. Right, ladies and gentlemen, here we go. Today, with regards to Liverpool, sorry, I'm going to do that again, give Connor a better cut point. Sorry, Connor, because Connor cuts this for a clip, so bear with me. Liverpool transfer news roundup, here we go. Starting off with Darwin Nunez, who made history equaling the record goals scored in a row for Uruguay. He currently sits on 7, along with the great Hector Scarone. There is one game for him to go in the group stages of the Copa America. If he bags another goal, it will be 8 consecutive games and that Darwin has scored for Uruguay at international level, which is incredible. And hopefully then he would carry that form and the confidence back into the Premier League with Liverpool next season. But if you've been watching him in this Copa America, you can't but be impressed with how lively he's looked. We then also mentioned about Clive Tyldesley, who yesterday was linking us with Kavicha Kvaratskhelia. Well, this weekend Clive is saying goodbye to ITV and broadcasting there after 28 years, and we just wanted to spend a second to say well done to him on an incredible career and 28 years at the very top of his game as well. So much love to Clive Tyldesley, one of the all-time greats for me with regards to football commentary. The next bit of news that we had was that Real Madrid star Rodrigo has been advised on a Liverpool move. According to Spanish outlet Sport, Real Madrid star Rodrigo has been advised to make a move to either Manchester City or Liverpool after the La Liga club signed Kylian Mbappe. The piece goes on to say he scored 17 goals and had 9 assists last season, and he would no doubt translate into a real threat in English football. But the question here is, can you see Liverpool spending the money it would take to bring Rodrigo in? We thought €100 million initially. Real Madrid have been briefing reporters of €150 million if they were to sell Rodrigo. And then you have to talk about what Rodrigo has said publicly as well. He said that he wants to stay at Madrid. He loves Madrid. That's where he sees his future. If it does dawn on him that he wants to move away, I'd be all over it. I think he's a great player, but I don't see much truth to it. A bit of positive news on Mohamed Salah. He's set to provide Liverpool with a pre-season boost with the news that he will not be going to the Olympics with Egypt. At least that's what's believed to be the case. This piece here from Paul Gore said that he's increasingly resigned to not going away with Egypt for the Olympics, and Liverpool don't have to release him. In fact, clubs don't have to release any players for the Olympics. It isn't a FIFA sanctioned tournament, so it doesn't fall under FIFA's rules. So if anybody wants to go, it has to be with the blessing of the football club. And to be fair, I don't know where Mohamed Salah's thoughts are with this, but from Liverpool's perspective, you had a player who carried an injury through the latter part of last season. The more rest and the more work he can get on the training ground with Arne Slot, the better. So for me, this is a good story. I'm sure if you're an Egyptian football fan, you probably look at it a little bit differently, but in all honesty, can we see Egypt winning the Olympics? Probably not. Another bit of news here is that Liverpool are interested in a Brazilian goalkeeper, Bento, from Atletico Paranaense, and they'd already turned down a €15 million bid from Inter Milan, who then looked elsewhere and looked to sign Josep Martinez. So for us, I think this makes sense. If we do move Quivy and Kelleher on and take in a transfer fee of 30 to 40 million, a 25-year-old Brazilian international, I wouldn't say no. We've got Taffarel at the club. We've got Alisson at the club. We've got Pitaluga at the club. Why not get a whole Brazilian goalkeeping department? So an interesting one to keep an eye on. €15 million was the offer turned down from Inter Milan. Liverpool would have to get up to about 25 according to this report. So keep an eye on that situation. It does look like we'll have to do some business in the goalkeeping department. Also, Premier League sent out a letter to all 20 clubs kind of warning them about this young player trading and reminding them that the Premier League can look into any transfer if they wish, going right back through the negotiations, the interactions between the club to see who's taking the piss and who's been realistic of their transfer valuations of these younger players, as there have been many shouts about PSR wiggle room and PSR adjustments from football club. I don't understand it all, to be honest with you, but wait and see what happens there. Rayan Ait-Nouri. We know there's been interest from Liverpool. We know that there's been reports in Algeria to say that Liverpool are in pole position to sign him. We've also seen reports to say that he would have loved to have played under Jurgen Klopp, but he still does like the idea of coming to Liverpool, the style of football we play, and Arne Slot. But what we didn't know is what the transfer fee might be. Reports today suggest that £38 million is a number that Wolves will be happy with. If that's true, I think we should be all over it. We ran a poll on the channel and it was almost 80% of people said for £38 million Liverpool should sign Rayan Ait-Nouri. It would probably see Costas moving on, and again I would say that is the right the right gamble to take. I don't see Costa's ever being the future at left back, whereas like Ait-Nouri, he very well could be when Andy Robertson moves on in the future. The big story of the day that's been spreading like wildfire across social media is Liverpool's apparent interest in Anthony Gordon. Now, Newcastle do have some PSR trouble, and they do have to potentially free up some money before the 1st of July, which is where the accounting year ends for football clubs. The end of June is the end of the financial year, and this 3-year cycle means Newcastle still have to free up some cash. Speculation is that Liverpool are going to come in with an offer for Anthony Gordon. Rumours are it would take £100 million. I don't know where to start with this one. Would I take Anthony Gordon? I don't mind him. Do I think he's worth £100 million? No. Do I think it's likely? I can't rule it out entirely because there is enough speculation to say that there could be a kernel of truth to this. But if it goes past the 1st of July, I would say no chance, unless we can try to pull Newcastle's pants down with a last minute transfer to free up money for PSR. I don't think it goes past that. On top of this, we've spoken about the fact that Liverpool have asked about Gordon's situation apparently with Newcastle. Don't know what the response is. Newcastle United are in a difficult position and not wanting to sell their star players with PSR deadline, but looking like they might have to, according to Sky Sports. Another player Liverpool were rumoured to be interested in is Bayer Leverkusen's defender, Odilon Kosunu. And there are reports from Bill that Liverpool's interest isn't as strong as others believe. Then we've got Fabrizio Romano saying that talks are taking place over a £38 million move. Manchester United and Newcastle are also credited with an interest in the Ivory Coast international. I've never even heard of this guy. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you folks. I've never heard of him. So I'm going to ask you guys to let me know in the comments what you think of him. Another name that we have to talk about is Maximilian Bayer, Hoffenheim striker. Liverpool have been linked with this guy for a year. This piece here from Christian Falk said that Chelsea have joined the race with Liverpool to sign him. 21 years of age. He has a release clause of €32 million, which is about £27 million. And I want to know from you guys, is he any good? Do you think Liverpool are going to follow up with an offer? And for me, I don't know where we're at this summer. So to summarise all of this and tie it all together, hand on heart, I couldn't point to one player and say that I feel confident to say to you, this is a target Liverpool are going after. Michael Edwards has done a brilliant job in this window to make sure that Liverpool's interest is kept to a minimum in the public eye. But that has to be backed up with the actual signings. So let's see what happens. We think we might see a summer with something like a wide forward, Ait-Nouri, and maybe a centre-back. I'd personally like a defensive midfielder, but this is where we're currently at the minute. So over to you guys. Let me know what you think. Do you agree with any of these stories? Do you think they're far-fetched? And how much is Anthony Gordon really worth? Because I don't think he's worth £100 million. Thank you for that, folks, by the way. Let me run through that one. Name 3 players Liverpool should sell and 3 players Liverpool should buy. Sell Costas, Kelleher for the right reason, not because I want rid of him, because I think it's the right time for him to make that step forward. And Mohamed Salah is the other one I would sell, and I think we should sell. 3 players to buy: Nico Williams, Ederson, and Mark Gay or Calafiori. They'd be the signings for me. What's with Calafiori in Madrid? I honestly don't know, Georgie, because that story only kind of came up as I started the stream. So I've no idea what's going on with Real Madrid and Calafiori at the minute. I do know that when I see Real Madrid's name mentioned with somebody, your butthole tightens up a little bit, doesn't it? Let's be honest. So I hope there's nothing to it, but again, we have to wait and see. We can't let them have Lenny Yoro and Calafiori. Surely to God, that's too much. We should be looking at Dovbyk or Sorloth from La Liga. Dovbyk's not good enough. Nowhere near good enough to play for Liverpool. He's a hard worker. He's an honest footballer. But he'd be nowhere near the level. I know Girona have had a great season. But nah, Dovbyk isn't it. Sorloth, I don't think he's good enough either, to be honest with you. Not sure what type of fee Sociedad would ask for. But yeah, no, I don't think there's a... I think there's much better out there than those. For instance, I'd have Chiesa every day of the week over those type of players, potentially because he's much cheaper as well at about 30 million quid. Elaine said, Bayer is absolutely one of the quickest players I've ever seen. The links to him have been quite consistent, going back a year, but nothing's ever come of it yet. He is still really young though, 21 years of age. He does have that release clause we mentioned. It's about 27.5 million quid. So, thoughts on Verge at right centre back for extra cover for Trent? I don't mind as long as he's in the defensive line somewhere. If he's left centre back, right centre back, doesn't bother me as long as Virgil is there, because I still really rate the guy. What else have we got in the chat? I'm taking a back seat this summer, said Tilsheen, until we see what happens. New manager is exciting for next season. I'm delighted. Can't wait for the pre-season games to get started at the end of July. Sorloth is definitely good enough, but too old. I'm a Norwegian, trust me. Would you not say then that as a Norwegian you might be potentially a little bit biased? I've been that way with Irish players, trust me, so I'm not having a go with you, but if he was good enough, he would have moved, and he would have been at a bigger club at some point, with all due respect to Sociedad and Norway. It's just, he's had his career and he never really made it to the biggest club, so there has to be a reason for that. We have seen Camavinga, Tchouaméni, Bellingham and many others going there. It would be impossible for them to get Calafiori and Euro. I would hope so, because it becomes annoying, doesn't it, when player after player after player who you build your hopes up for ends up at the Santiago Bernabeu. It is a pain in the arse. I get you. 23 goals in La Liga, right? And I don't understand what point you're trying to make. All I said to you was, if he was that good, surely one of the bigger clubs at some point would have brought him there. I'm not saying he isn't doing numbers or he hasn't played well. Or Villarreal. Sorry, was he not at Sociedad? I thought Sorloth was at Sociedad. That shows you how much I've been paying attention there. But either way, if he was so good, he would have got to move somewhere. Look, playing in La Liga is a very high level to be playing at anyway. So, you've had a good career, but for me, no, at Liverpool. Craig, if you love Adidas, I have the perfect thing for you. How can I show you? If it's an Adidas suit, I've seen it. But email, contact@AnfieldAgenda.com, mate, is the email address to get in touch with us. Contact@AnfieldAgenda.com. I'm getting a few Anfield Agenda Adidas t-shirts made up just to see what they're like over the next couple of weeks. So, we're going to try it because we're looking into merch and stuff, but I'm buying a few t-shirts and I'm going to get them embroidered with the Anfield Agenda logo just to see, call it a feasibility study into the t-shirts. Hate him, but Perez is a genius, said Trucy Skura. Look, he's definitely assembled a very good squad, revamped that stadium. Yeah, look, it's difficult to say he hasn't been a success. He's constantly delivered for Real Madrid. When will the away kit be released? I would be expecting it quite soon, because you still have the third kit to come out then in August, so I would say you probably see something in the next week or two about the away kit being released. I'm not a fan of any of the Nike kits this year, to be honest, but yeah, I'd say a week or two based off previous years. Can you get me one in 4XL? I'm struggling to get my own one, mate, in medium. Let me see what they look like first, Dave. I need to make sure that they look well enough. We're just kind of playing around at the minute. Can't wait for Champions League nights next season at Anfield. Yes, I'm buzzing for it. And we've got 8 group stage games against 8 different teams, which is going to be really interesting. Normally, if we've got a group with 6 games, 3 home, 3 away against the same teams. But in the new revamped Champions League, we've got 8 different teams to play in the group stage. It's going to be really interesting when the draw takes place. Any opinions on Van Nistelrooy for Erik ten Hag's assistant? It's not the worst idea in the world. Bringing a former player with coaching experience and obviously somebody who knows where the back of the net is, I can see that as a fairly sensible addition to Erik ten Hag's backroom staff at United. I mocked them for a lot, but I can understand that one. I should give the new Champions League format a chance, said Yusuf. It's interesting, mate. I'm not saying it's the best thing in the world. And I'm very much if it's not broke, or if it ain't broke, don't fix it kind of person. But we are where we are with it. Let's just give it a try and see what the season brings. It is interesting to see 8 different games. And one mad big long league table is going to take some getting used to. Was successful in a ballot, so I have tickets guaranteed for all group stage games at home. Nice one, Stephen. Well in. Delighted for you, bro. That's good news. I'm hoping to get over to a group stage game myself. Was talking to a friend about it yesterday. Ethan, how are you, my friend? Said, I bet Liverpool are going to wait all summer to see what happens with Lenny Yoro. I believe Gordon won't leave because they will just sell Minta to make the money. Love the channel. Look, Lenny Yoro, I don't get why anybody is hanging around. The kid, once he says it, I think that's it. If it was just a case of he was open to a move to any of these clubs, I think, okay, we're in with a chance. But, you know, all the briefings are that he's let it be known that he wants to go to Real Madrid. And he's in a contractual situation where he can force that to happen. Whether he runs down his deal and leaves for free, or whether Madrid agree a deal with Lille towards the end of the window. I just don't see why Liverpool, United, or anybody else are still hanging around. I feel like it'll just end in disappointment. And what I've been somewhat happy to see is that Liverpool are looking at this as a possible addition and not to their core transfer business, which makes sense. Thoughts on Chelsea buying and selling? I'm exactly what you think my thoughts are, Alex, are my thoughts. How? You know, £1 billion in 1 year. Mind blown. Truth, you said, I would love Minta, by the way. It reminds me of Mane. His stats look like he's someone Edwards would like too. Well, we did run the rule over him. We obviously do know that Arne Slot worked with him, but Liverpool aren't interested in that signing based off a couple of quite reliable journalists. Who's my favourite number 6 player I'd want? I want Ederson, Adam, from Atalanta. I think he ticks all the boxes for me. Right age profile. Really impressive when I've watched them. 40 odd million. You know, I just think he'd be exceptional in our system. Let them keep spending. They're not going to win anything anyway. I think though, Fadil, mate, the problem is that a lot of people just like some accountability. You know, how? Just explain to us how it can keep happening. Because nobody else seems to be able to do it. But yeah, Chelsea always seem to have never-ending ways to sell younger players and never-ending ways to get around FFP calculations. Scott, thank you, mate, for your membership post. Said, are we sleeping on Jota despite these injuries? I don't think we're sleeping on him. I just don't think you can bet the house on him when he has had those injury concerns. I love Jota. Great to have around the squad. Should be certainly pushing for a place, but with those injury concerns, you don't want to go into a season betting the house on Diogo Jota to be playing 30 league games for you. If he does, brilliant. What a bonus, because we know he knows where the goal is. He's a very intelligent footballer as well. So, yeah, love Diogo, but can't ignore the injury record, unfortunately. Thoughts on the Joshua fight? I think Joshua will sort Dubois out within 4 rounds. The one thing I take from all of that is that Tyson Fury has hopefully learned a lesson in humility and how to deal with people. Because say what you want about Alexander Usyk, but he's absolutely stitched Fury up beautifully. Because there's no chance now, if he beats Usyk, he ain't getting undisputed. Because there's still one more belt that he's going to have to fight AJ or Dubois for if he beats Usyk. And Usyk intentionally did that because of all the disrespect and the mouthiness and the bullshit and the nonsense out of Tyson Fury. I broke my ass laughing when I seen that video from Alexander Usyk saying that it was a gift to AJ and Daniel Dubois because he knew what he was doing. This was his fuck you to Tyson Fury, and I found it brilliant, to be honest with you, because I don't like Fury very much. And I'm a big fan of Alexander Usyk, so yeah, I thought it was hilarious. Is there a chance we don't get anyone this summer? I would say no. I would say it's nailed on. We signed somebody, mate. You know, whether it's players we're all happy with or not, that's another conversation. But I do think, yes, we will bring in players. The more interesting question for me is the contracts for the three boys, Salah, Van Dijk and Trent. What happens there? And is there going to be a potential sale that we weren't expecting, or something to come in that asks us a very difficult question? You know, Diaz, will he move on, as an example? Let's wait and see. When City get charged, I hope we have a 24-hour stream. Mate, if City get held to account, it's party time for me. You know that. I will be on here smiling like a Cheshire cat and laughing my ass off. Trust me, mate, I'm waiting for this for a long time, as you know. So yeah, I'm hopeful that they're held to account. Right, look, I'm going to say goodnight to you all because I got to go get a few things sorted. Tomorrow, there won't be any live content. Saturday's my day off, so what we will be doing is putting out a clips video, and I'll record a news video to go out tomorrow evening as well. Enjoy the Euros if you're going to watch it. I will see you back on Sunday, 8:30. England are on a 5 on Sunday, so we'll give you guys plenty of time to either celebrate or get over that, and then I'll see you at 8:30. Don't forget, the show tickets are live. If you want to come to Cardiff or Liverpool to see us, you can get them with the link in the description. Until then, appreciate you guys as always. Thanks for dropping in on Friday and enjoy your weekend. I'll talk to you soon. Much love.